The envelope felt heavier than paper should as Jonathan's father slid it across the mahogany table at the country club. Inside was an itemized bill for $200,000, every line meticulously detailed in his banker's handwriting, venue rental at the St. Regis, flowers from the Belgian florist, address I'd never seen, catering for 500 guests I didn't know. This is non-negotiable, William Ashford said, adjusting his counterfeit Rolex. The Ashford family has standards. If you want to marry our son, you need to meet them. My name is Lauren Chen, and I'm a forensic accountant who just discovered my entire engagement was a con. But sitting in that country club, watching the Ashfords swagger with money they didn't have, I decided to play along. After all, I'd always been good with numbers, and their numbers were about to destroy them. I met Jonathan Ashford at a charity auction 2 years ago. He was bidding aggressively on a Monet sketch, champagne in hand, designer suit impeccable. When he lost to me, he laughed and introduced himself. Jonathan Ashford, and you're the woman with excellent taste who just cost me a Monet. Lauren Chen, and you're the man who just saved $50,000 by losing to someone who actually wanted it. He was charmed. I was intrigued. He came from old Philadelphia money, or so he claimed. His family owned hotels, had a wing at the hospital, summered in the Hamptons. I came from immigrant parents who built a small accounting firm into a modest success. Opposites attract, everyone said. What a fairy tale. The red flag started small. Jonathan always forgot his wallet. His credit cards were having issues. The Porsche was in the shop, constantly, but he was charming, attentive, and I was falling in love with who I thought he was. When he proposed with a massive diamond at his family's estate, I said yes immediately. His mother, Victoria, air-kissed me and immediately started planning. We'll have the wedding at the St. Regis, of course. The Ashfords have been members for generations. Spring, I think. Magnolias and money, what better combination? I was thinking something smaller, I ventured. Maybe. Nonsense, William cut in. An Ashford wedding is an event. Our reputation demands excellence. I should have known then. The way they said Ashford like it was currency. The way they toured me through a house that felt more like a museum, beautiful but cold, expensive but empty. The way Jonathan squeezed my hand too tight when I asked questions. The wedding planning started without me. Victoria made appointments I wasn't invited to, selected vendors I never met, planned a ceremony that had nothing to do with my wishes or heritage. Your people don't really do big weddings, do they? She asked during one particularly painful lunch. Best to leave this to those of us who understand society. My people? I kept my voice level. You mean Americans? Because that's what I am. She tittered nervously. Of course, dear. I just meant, well, you know. I knew exactly what she meant. The financial request started subtly. Jonathan needed a loan for a temporary cash flow issue. His father asked if I could invest in a surefire hotel deal. Victoria suggested I pay for the engagement party, as a gesture of good faith to the family. Each time, I smiled and declined. Each time, they got more desperate. Everything came to a head 3 months before the wedding. William summoned me to the country club and presented the bill. $200,000? I stared at the itemized list. For a wedding you planned without me? The Ashford name carries certain expectations. He said stiffly, this is what it costs to meet them. And you expect me to pay this? Well, Jonathan's trust fund is tied that up at the moment. And we've had some temporary setbacks with our investments. But family helps family, doesn't it? We're not family yet, I pointed out. His face darkened. No, we're not. And we won't be unless this wedding happens. Jonathan is very traditional. No wedding, no marriage. I'm sure you understand. I understood perfectly. They were holding my relationship hostage for $200,000. I need time to liquidate some assets. I lied smoothly. Give me 2 weeks. William smiled like a shark. I knew you were a smart girl. That night, Jonathan was extra attentive. Dad told me about your meeting. You're amazing. You know that? Not many women would understand our situation. What situation exactly? I probed. Oh, you know. Old money isn't liquid money, it's all tied up in trusts and investments. But once we're married, everything will be different. We'll be partners in everything, including your trust fund? He kissed my forehead. Everything, baby. The Ashford fortune will be yours too. I went home and did what I do best, followed the money. It took me 3 days to uncover the truth. The Ashfords weren't old money, they weren't new money, they weren't any money. William had declared bankruptcy twice. Victoria's jewelry collection was cubic zirconia and wishful thinking. The house was mortgaged 3 times over. The country club membership was 6 months behind. But the real shock was Jonathan, my fiancé. the supposed heir to a hotel fortune, was actually $800,000 in debt. No trust fund, no investments, just credit cards, gambling debts, and a very interesting series of deposits from a woman named Margaret Pemberton, 73 years old, widowed, and worth approximately $40 million. The photos my investigator found were enlightening. Jonathan at Margaret's penthouse, Jonathan on Margaret's yacht, Jonathan wearing the watch Margaret bought him, the same watch he'd told me was his grandfather's. My fiancé wasn't just broke, he was a professional con man, and I was supposed to be his biggest score yet. I spent the next week playing the perfect fiancé while gathering evidence, bankruptcy filings, forged financial statements, tax fraud going back years. The Ashfords weren't just broke, they were criminals. The rehearsal dinner arrived faster than expected. The Ashfords had planned it at the country club, billing me naturally. They'd invited 150 of their closest friends, all people they owed money to or hoped to con next. I arrived in the red dress Jonathan loved, carrying a briefcase instead of a clutch. "Darling," Victoria air-kissed me, "don't you look bold? Is that briefcase really necessary?" "Oh yes," I smiled, "it is everything we need for tonight." The dinner progressed with painful speeches about the joining of two great families and the Ashford legacy continuing. I noticed Margaret Pemberton at table 3, dripping in real diamonds, gazing at Jonathan with ownership. Finally, William stood for his toast, "To my son and his brilliant bride, who understands that joining the Ashford family is an investment in excellence." To investments, the crowd cheered. Speaking of investments, I stood, tapping my glass. "I have some documents to share about the Ashford family finances." The room went silent. Jonathan's face paled. "Lauren, what are you doing?" "Due diligence," I said, pulling out papers. "Something I should have done 2 years ago." I started with the bankruptcy filings, projecting them on the screen intended for our love story slideshow. William Ashford, bankrupt in 2015 and 2019, currently $2.3 million in debt. Gasps rippled through the room. William stood. "How dare you?" Victoria Ashford, I continued, arrested for check fraud in 2018. Charges dropped when the victim mysteriously withdrew complaints. Currently named in 3 active lawsuits for non-payment. Victoria's Botox couldn't hide her shock. "And Jonathan Ashford," I said, meeting my fiancé's panicked eyes. "No trust fund, no inheritance, no job for the past 4 years, but somehow, mysteriously, $300,000 in deposits from Margaret Pemberton." All eyes turned to table 3. Margaret's face went from confusion to rage as she stared at Jonathan. "You told me you were breaking up with her," Margaret shrieked. "You said the money was for your sick mother." "Margaret, I can explain," Jonathan started. "Explain what?" I asked loudly. "How you've been dating both of us, how you promised to marry her too, how you've taken money from her while planning a wedding to me that I was supposed to pay for." The room erupted. Margaret threw her wine at Jonathan. William tried to grab my microphone. Victoria fainted, or pretended to. But I wasn't done. "Oh, and the wedding they planned? The one they demanded I pay $200,000 for? They've already collected deposits from vendors using my name and credit. That's fraud. The FBI is very interested." As if on cue, federal agents entered the ballroom. My college roommate Sarah, now with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, led the team. "William Ashford, Victoria Ashford, Jonathan Ashford, you're under arrest for wire fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. You set us up," Jonathan screamed as they cuffed him. "You lying bitch." "I told the truth," I said calmly, "something you might want to try in your elocution." As they led the Ashfords away, Margaret Pemberton approached me, mascara streaming. I'm so sorry, I thought I was special." "He said he loved me." "He said that to me too," I admitted, "but men like Jonathan don't love people, they love opportunities." "The money I gave him, file a civil suit," I advised. "I'll testify. You might recover some of it from asset seizure." She nodded gratefully, then looked at the chaos around us. What kind of monsters raise their son to be a con artist? "The kind who see everyone as marks," I said, watching William argue with federal agents about his rights. "The kind who think the world owes them luxury they can't afford." The country club was in chaos. Half the guests were on phones with lawyers, realizing they too had been scammed. The other half were gleefully recording for social media. The Ashford family con had finally collapsed, and everyone wanted to witness the fall. My phone buzzed. "Jonathan," somehow texting from custody, "this isn't over. I'll get out, and you'll pay for humiliating my family." I forwarded the threat to Sarah and blocked his number. The aftermath was swift and satisfying. The Ashfords were convicted on multiple counts. William got 12 years. Victoria got 8. And Jonathan, with his longer history and Margaret's testimony, got 15. The wedding vendors who'd been scammed thanked me for exposing the fraud before they provided services. The country club revoked the Ashford membership and sued for back dues. The house was seized for tax fraud. Margaret Pemberton became an unlikely friend. We started a support group for romance scam victims, sharing our stories and warning signs. She recovered some money from the asset seizure and used it to fund fraud prevention education. He was so convincing, she said during one meeting. The stories, the promises, the dreams he sold me, that's what they do, I explained. They don't sell themselves, they sell who you want them to be. My parents, who'd been skeptical of Jonathan from the start, took me to dinner after the trial. We wanted to say something, Mom admitted, but you seemed so happy. His family was so rude to you, Dad added. The way they acted at your engagement party, like we were beneath them. You were right to be suspicious, I said. I just couldn't see past the performance. But you did eventually, Mom pointed out. And you didn't just walk away, you made sure they couldn't hurt anyone else. 6 months later, I was auditing a client when my assistant knocked. Lauren, there's a delivery for you. It was a single rose with a note. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. A grateful stranger. I never found out who sent it, but I had my suspicions. One of the vendors who didn't lose money, a guest who realized they were being groomed as the next Mark, maybe even someone who heard about the case and dodged their own Ashford bullet. The truth is, the Ashfords weren't unique. They were just one family in a long con game, pretending to have money while stealing from those who actually earned it. They targeted me because I was successful, single, and different enough that they thought I'd be grateful for their acceptance. They were wrong on all counts. I wasn't grateful, I was suspicious. I wasn't different, I was observant. And I wasn't their victim, I was their downfall. My name is Lauren Chen. I'm a forensic accountant who almost married into a family of con artists. When they demanded $200,000 for a wedding they planned without me, I uncovered their bankruptcy, fraud, and my fiancé's sugar mommy. At the rehearsal dinner meant to celebrate our union, I exposed them all. They wanted my money, they got federal prison instead. The wedding dress they ordered without my input? I donated it to a charity auction. It raised $5,000 for fraud victim support. Now that's what I call a happy ending.